I am Lawrence Chuno, and this is Doing Jazz. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Doing Jazz. My name is Lawrence Chuno, and this episode is with drummer Michael Vitali. Michael Vitali is a diverse and avid practitioner of jazz. He has played with some of the household names in jazz and is also very active in the New York City world music community, playing Haitian music, Irish music, and African music, just to mention a few. He has also toured the world several times with his own group, the Michael Vitali Trio. The trio has just released a new album titled Scratching the Surface. The CD release event will take place on Saturday, June 16th at Bar Next Door in the West Village section of New York City. The event starts at 9:30 p.m. The music playing in the background is called Yin Yang. During my conversation with Michael, you'll hear the songs Leo, Requiem, and True Love Waits. These songs are all from the album Scratching the Surface by the Michael Vitali Trio. After listening to this episode, you can learn more about Michael Vitali by going to the website of the show, www.doingjazz.net. And you can listen to more episodes of Doing Jazz by subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, or any of the available podcast vendors. While on iTunes, please rate the show, leave a comment, and share the show with your loved ones. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I present Michael Vitali. Your face. Michael Vitali, welcome to Doing Jazz.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Good. I'm glad we're finally getting to do this. The first time I contacted you, I didn't know if you wanted to do it, but then you you replied. I'm like, yeah, he wants to do it. Yeah. You have a new album out. It's called Scratching the Surface.
Yeah.
All right. Before we talk about that, I want to talk about a few things. I just remembered them, so I don't want to forget. You do this weekly jam session. What is it called again?
The Cortelio Jazz Jam.
The Cortelio Jazz Jam.
Yeah.
Is in Brooklyn?
It's in Brooklyn. It's in Ditmas Park, or you could call it, I guess, Prospect Park South.
Okay. And what is this venue called?
It's called Bar Chord.
Bar Chord.
Bar Chord,
okay.
As in...
Yeah, bar, then chord.
Exactly. We play chords at
yeah.
this bar
yeah.
sometimes.
I've been there a couple of times, but I've only performed once, and I really had a good time. So I just want to start by talking about that. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that? How long has it been in?
Sure. We're actually coming up on our 5-year anniversary.
Oh.
And so it's been going pretty much since the bar opened, which was they just had their 5-year anniversary a few weeks ago, and I think ours is probably technically next week.
Oh.
And it's it's the typical New York jam session format. I hire a couple of guys to start the set with me, so we play trio, usually piano player, bass player, and I play drums. And we play an opening set, and then friends and new acquaintances show up and play with us, and it's a jam.
It seems like this little cool spot that people don't know about until you get there, and then you realize there's a lot going on there in that little corner that it is in the bar. I just want to know, is there anybody that has stopped by that surprised you?
Actually, we've had Well, surprised. I guess.
Well,
biggest,
maybe not
yeah, I
surprised,
guess
but
the biggest,
the person just showed up out of nowhere, and you're like, wow.
Well, Thomas Morgan has been coming by a few times now.
Great.
Who is a brilliant bass player.
Mhm.
He's working with Bill Frisell right now, and very, very great, humble, great musician who will just get up on stage and play like everybody else.
Mm.
I mean, there's actually a lot of great musicians on a weekly basis coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of feel like singling out people just
Yeah.
because
But
they're a little
famous.
more
I know.
established with their names.
Yeah.
Is in a way not fair to all the other
True,
great cats
true,
who show up
true.
every week.
You're right.
But yeah, there's a couple of there.
Esperanza.
Kenny Barron.
Yeah, Kenny Barron.
Kenny Barron showed up
I think
once. He
so
didn't
as well.
play though.
Okay.
I actually, well, we might talk about that later, but my bass player in my trio is Yuka Tadano, and she's married to Kenny Barron's bass player,
Oh, okay.
Kiyoshi.
Mm-hmm.
So that,
Nice.
so that explains that. Yeah, exactly. Esperanza
Esperanza's
came in
funny.
one time.
she
Yeah,
came in.
yeah. Mark Ferber shows up every now and then. I don't know. Some people might know him. He's a pretty busy New York drummer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like a legit jam session out there, tucked away in Brooklyn. That people who know about it cherish it. Like me, I really like it, and I hope a lot of people will check it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of good stuff like that going on in Brooklyn, which there are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are great jam sessions at Irv's. Like they're all in sort of Leffertsgarten, Irv's, Parkside. My friend Kaz runs that, and the Bluebird. I think what makes Barcourt a little more fun is that we go a little later.
Yeah.
It's a long session. We start at 9 and we go all the way to 1.
Oh, okay.
And so it gets a little saucier. Like it's okay to have a drink, and
Yeah.
it's okay to come after the gig, and it's okay to hang, and sometimes we hang afterwards. So it's a little more social than other jams.
Definitely more social than. I don't want to say the name, but I'm gonna say it. It's done small.
Things in the city.
Yeah, in the city. Okay.
I think there's generally just a little bit of a different vibe.
A different vibe,
Manhattan
exactly.
versus Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Brooklyn is a little more about the hang, and Manhattan is a little more about the music in the best case scenario, I guess.
You are somebody I know that's a working musician who just works, and you've worked with a lot of people. I don't want to mention the names. Feel free to mention the names. But I know I can mention the names. I know you've worked with Lionel Lueke, among other people. You play in my band, and thank you for playing in my band. You played on my record that we released in 2016, and I'm reworking certain things, mainly the vocals and the mixing, and I'm releasing it again with few extra songs. I just wanted to talk a little bit about being a musician in New York City. How do you manage not necessarily surviving? Let's talk about time, because you'll be doing some other thing today, recording with somebody for NPR. How is the hustle? Because I'm not a working musician.
Yeah.
But,
Well, there is that saying, when it rains, it pours. That's kind of true. It's been very true for me lately, which I really like when it pours, but sometimes it's just really
just
dry
too
as
much.
well.
Yeah.
And yeah, so today's a busy day. I'm doing this with you right now, and then I have a few hours to go home. I'm gonna have to actually sort of get the stage ready at Barcourt, because I'll be running late when I get there.
Yeah.
And then I'll be at Signature Theater with Susan Laurie Parks, who is a amazing playwright, screenwriter, author, and she has a band as well, and I play in her band, and we're going to be doing a radio, I think it's a podcast, but like somehow NPR or public radio related, with live audience.
Nice.
And like Q&A. And then I'll be packing up very quickly to get to my jam in Brooklyn.
Nice.
But that's a busy day, and then tomorrow I have, I believe, nothing really on the books. So I was like, you never know. I got a call yesterday from a friend to sub for him on some off-Broadway show, which I would have loved to do, but of course it's the date of my CD release, and so you have one gig. Everybody will call you for that one day.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the CD now. It's called Scratching the Surface. Okay. All right. I'm going to ask you this generic question that I like to ask, but I get very interesting answers, even though it's like a question I don't like to ask. What made you do this album?
Well, I mean, I guess like New York is a very sort of fast-paced place. It's kind of we call it rat race. You go from one gig to the other, and you do a session here and the jam there, and then you play your gigs and you go teach. But it's really easy to sort of live here for years and play so many hundred gigs and not really have anything tangible at the end of the day. And so you gotta be careful and make sure you put something on record every now and then, something that you can look back to later, and you have something to show for.
Yes,
really.
Yes, yeah.
And the other practical aspect is that I've been taking my trio on tour to Europe a lot lately, and that's been really fun. Much more fun than expected, actually.
How long does each tour last?
They've been going like 2.5 weeks or so.
Okay.
The next one might be a little longer.
Okay.
If I can pull it off. But yeah, and you know, that's mostly where we sell CDs.
Yeah.
That's where and also, you know, in order to book gigs, you know, you want to have some.
Yes.
I guess that's the other thing. It's really important for booking to have something a little more recent.
Recent and tangible. Yeah.
Exactly, and then the just like the effect of playing on the road every day with the same two musicians for like the same, more or less the same material every night, is that things get really tight, and that's another thing. And you know, we did record this record like a week after returning from Europe.
Nice.
And so that was kind of the idea, to harvest that energy and that intimacy that we had in the band.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Before we started recording, we talked a little bit about the composition process, and it involved the trio pitched in the different songs. But the band has your name in it. So when I listen to the album, I hear a trio, and I don't hear somebody trying to be at the front. You know, you're not like trying to be the leader. You're like, you guys were well coordinated, in harmony. The harmony, not musical harmony, but just like in harmony. You guys know your place, and you fit in really well. I guess you've answered this. You kind of answered the question I was going to ask. I was going to ask, how do you achieve that? But I guess you achieved it by playing a whole lot, going on tour together, and doing things together, doing musical things together. And the album kind of writes itself and arranges itself from playing and stuff like that. So I don't know, do you want to say anything about maybe the arrangement or any fun thing that happened during
sure.
creating?
I can talk about the process
Okay.
a little bit. I mean, you know, that's a big compliment. You know, I think it's very much a group effort, and you know, it's not the idea to have someone in the front. It's to me, it's three people talking. It's having three people having a conversation. Like that's the sound of a good jazz trio. And I'm glad it sounds like that.
That sounds.
The trio has my name mostly because I guess after the first time we recorded, we had a nice recording, and it was kind of sitting there, and I was the guy saying, okay, let's do something with that. And I I had to touch a little money to make it happen, and then I started booking gigs and the tour, and we had to call it something. And lacking a brilliant inspiration for a cool name, I thought I had a good name.
Yeah, you have a good name. I was gonna say you have like a movie star name, like a star name, like it rolls out.
It works, and I don't see myself as the star of the band at all, and I don't think I am. I mean, I play with brilliant musicians, and I'm learning a lot from them, and at the same time, it fills me with pride sometimes when I walk into a theater in Germany I've never been to, and there's a big poster with my name in front.
Nice.
It's kind of nice.
Nice. Great.
But yeah, the process. I guess everybody brings tunes that they wrote or stuff that they like. I mean, on this record there is a Bobby Hutcherson tune. There is a Radiohead tune. We're all big fans of Radiohead. We're all a bit obsessed actually with Radiohead. So this is the second time we recorded a Radiohead song, and like I said, it's at the end of the tour, so usually after 3 weeks we have our favorite tunes that went well and that we like playing, and then we go into the studio, and then it's also depending on what we might go in and record 8 things and we like 7, or actually in this case I think this is all we recorded.
Yeah,
it was one day.
Nice.
I hope I answered some of your questions.
Yes, you did. Of course. All right, let's talk about some of the songs. I'm gonna start with the ones that I kind of really dig, the ones I like for no good reason, just because I connect. I really like Leo. Yes, yeah. I like the beginning lick or the vamp. I'm messing it up. I don't want to sing. And it has this natural groove that I like.
So it's just interesting. It's a pretty intricate groove. I'm really happy that you find it natural.
I find it natural.
I don't know if you did the counting.
No, I didn't.
So the groove on most of the song, let's call it the A sections, is it's a measure of. It's a measure of 7 and 8. So technically you could call it a 15. Yeah. A groove 15. In 15, but it's really 8, 7 and 8. But yeah, so that makes it that makes it kind of interesting. But if you find it natural, that means we did a good job.
It's
at
grooving.
Playing over it. I like that song too. It was written by Yuka, our bass player, Yuka Tadano. And Yeah, she writes really catchy stuff. I
Nice.
feel like it's almost a little poppy.
Yes, it's almost like
but,
that. Yeah.
You know, outside of the fact that it has a kind of intricate form, and we take long solos. It's also one of the 2 tracks where Melissa Aldana plays tenor saxophone.
Okay.
And we're super happy that she was able to do that with us. She's another person with a little bit of a more famous name. I've known her for a while.
Yeah.
And she was able to record with us, and she really sort of adds a lot to that track.
Nice. I also like Requiem. Yeah.
Requiem is the other song with the Melissa Aldana on it.
I like the melody. I like the straight notes, and I mean at the beginning, and the A session too.
Yeah.
But I like
so Requiem, actually, I love Requiem for many reasons. Well, first of all, the background is it has a little bit of a story. This is another tune by Yuka, and I don't know if you remember 2011, the big earthquake followed by the big tsunami in Japan.
Yeah.
And the following meltdown of the power plant.
Oh yes, I remember.
And Fukushima, and Yuka happened to be visiting. Well, she was on tour, and she was with her family, visiting her family, who lived or lives nearby, like near Fukushima.
Yeah.
And so this tune is basically about that experience when like all the earthquake happened, and then all power stopped, and nobody knew what was going on, and they were like sitting in the dark and wondering if another earthquake will happen, you know, all the terrors of that kind of disaster. And so the tune is really about that. And what I love about it is also I'm really happy with the performance. I'm really happy with that arch. Arc?
Whatever. Whichever.
Which is it? It's an arch.
It's
right?
an arch. Like the one in St. Louis is called an arch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like the journey. In acting, we would call it the journey.
Okay.
Well, I'm not an actor, but they would call it the journey.
Yeah.
So you know it starts with the bass solo, and then the guitar solo gets a little more involved, and then with Melissa puts it over the edge. And she didn't even know the song was about a tsunami, and she really plays the tsunami.
Yeah.
She goes crazy. So
wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I'm not a big Radiohead head, you know.
You're not?
Like you guys. Yeah. But I like your take on True Love Waits. That's a Radiohead song, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, when I was planning the tour and, you know, the record and all that, I was actually going through a big breakup. And so Radiohead, I guess Billie Holiday and Radiohead is kind of your go-to music when you're really down in the dumps.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did a lot of Radiohead these days, and I knew I wanted to record something, and so I was just looking for a tune that's catchy, that hasn't been done yet, because I don't know if you're familiar or if you know, but Brett Meldau, who's another favorite of mine, he did a lot of popular music covers, and including especially Radiohead.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I'm a bit embarrassed to admit it's kind of how I knew about Radiohead before, but I really kind of discovered them through Brett Meldau's recordings. So, you know, it had to be something he hasn't done yet, and something that's catchy and that works for a jazz format. So there is this song on the newest record, A Moon-Shaped Pool.
A Moon-Shaped
I think it's called
Pool. Okay.
Yeah, a moon-shaped pool. Oh my God.
I'm gonna look it up.
I may have mispronounced it on the radio, but
I'll cut it off if it's wrong.
I think that's it. And it's actually a remake. There is a live recording. I might as well be wrong. No, I might be wrong.
Okay.
It's a live record, and he sings that song just Tom York on the guitar and singing, and which kind of shows how great a song it is.
Yes,
because it works really well in that format and then really arranged. And so the arrangement on the newest record has this like organ arpeggio on it. And when I heard that, I thought, oh, that kind of sounds like a sort of a drum and bass jungle groove. Yeah. And so it was easy to just take that arpeggio and put the drum groove over it. And that's how that arrangement came together.
Yeah, nice. We're going to take a little break. You are listening to Doing Jazz with Lorens Trio. The guest on this episode is drummer Michael Vitali. His new album, Scratching the Surface, is available for purchase. The release of the album will be celebrated at Bar Next Door in New York City on Saturday, June 16th. The event starts at 9:30 p.m. Michael, I know some of these questions, the answers, but I always discover more when I ask. Where are you from?
Oh, okay. I'm from Zurich, Switzerland.
Okay.
Which is that country that's kind of between Germany and France and Italy and Austria, sort of. One could say the center of Europe.
Yeah, attempts to speak every language.
Well, yeah, there's a part that speaks French and there's a part that speaks Italian. And I'm from Zurich, which speaks that strange ancient form of German we called Swiss German. And yeah, it was a very nice place to grow up in.
Yeah, Zurich. And when did you get interested in music? When did you begin to develop interest in music?
Well, I always, I guess, like music was always a big thing for me growing up when I was a kid. I actually didn't know that I could be playing music until I started playing drums at 18. So I was but
you started playing drums when you were 18. I started playing drums
when I was 18. Yeah. Yeah, I was that kid. Like I would be in my room listening to like conducting Beethoven symphonies or listen to Verdi operas. And I loved the Beatles and I don't know. I had all kinds of phases, but I always thought for the first part of my life, I thought I had just kind of missed the boat of playing an instrument, or I guess I didn't have the calling, and I always thought I should be a composer and a piano player and a conductor and
interesting
and yeah.
But you knew you wanted to do something in music, but you thought it's something like conducting or.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I had happened to have started to play piano at 7, maybe would have gone that route.
I see.
But I mean, I think there's lots of people like I was who think that playing music is some kind of gift that you either have or you don't.
Yeah, I see.
And it keeps them from playing music. And what I discovered at 18 is that. It's not a gift. It's just you gotta just do it. And it's a lot of work. And I found a really amazing teacher who, within a few weeks, sort of opened my eyes that to the fact that if I put in a lot of work, I can really make it happen. And at 20, I said I wanted to become a professional drummer. And most people laughed except for my teacher and my mom. So. My mom was very supportive and paid for a lot of the instruction and did not insist on me going to university and doing something different. And yeah, my teacher believed in me too. So
Wow. And then you studied for 2 years, and then you enrolled at Berkeley.
Oh no, I was in Switzerland for much longer. I mean,
Okay.
I was kind of a working musician before going to
I
Berkeley.
see.
I went to, I think it's pretty typical for drummers. You start playing in bands pretty early because it's it doesn't take a lifetime. Well, it does take a lifetime to play a groove really well, but you can play it poorly pretty soon. And so I played in my first band after a few months after starting to play drums, and like 5 years in, I was in 5-6 bands at the time. They just happened to be rock bands, funk bands, other things. And then I wanted to get into jazz, so I went to jazz school in Switzerland, the Swiss Jazz School in Bern, which was a really, really good school actually. And especially their harmony ear training programs. I remember spending 1 or 2 hours a day on the piano, just like singing arpeggios and doing ear training and stuff like that. So yeah, really good program. The only thing is that nobody really plays the music, and there is no places to play the music, and it's just the jazz scene is not super happening, and jazz is just not a natural part of the culture like it is.
Do you
here.
think it is now? Is it changing
in
now?
New York? It
yeah,
is.
in Zurich.
In Zurich, no.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I mean, sure. There's more and more schools, and there's more people play it, but it's just not. No, it's not. It's not. It's not. People don't grow up with jazz. Like here.
It's interesting. Like, I don't know why it depends on what causes it, because I was speaking to somebody from Israel who is a musician, actually Siva Arbel, and she told me that the jazz scene in Jerusalem is like really big, and the jazz scene in other parts of Israel is like really vibrant. And I was just wondering why it's like that, and in some other parts of Europe it is, but why Zurich? Why would it be like that in Zurich? Why is it not that vibrant?
Well, I don't know. I haven't been to Jerusalem or other parts of Israel, and I've heard both. I get the impression that there's a lot of good musicians in Israel. I mean, certainly all the Israelis who are here are killing. And I think that might be a reason why their scene there is good, because a lot of people go back and forth.
I see.
But I've also talked to Israelis who say that all the good musicians are here, so the scene there isn't so great. I don't think there's a place like New York, period.
No, yeah, of course.
I mean, sure, there's better places in Europe to play jazz than Zurich, but nothing is like here. I mean, Berlin, but Berlin is really other stuff more than jazz, and Barcelona is supposed to be nice, and there's good places, but it's nothing like here. I mean, and I think it's just a tradition. It's been here for 80 years.
I know
that it's kind of New York's been kind of the center, and 90 years, and when people come here and have been coming here, and that's why it's great. Yeah. I mean, if all the Swiss musicians who live in New York went to Switzerland, things would look up a little. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, true. So you went to. When did you go to Berkeley?
So I started Berkeley in '99. I was 27.
Okay.
Oh, I just aged myself.
I mean,
dated myself.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, yeah. 99. Long time ago.
Yeah.
And for some reason thought that I should expedite my graduation, which I don't really understand now. But I did. I graduated in 2001, so I sort of squeezed the whole thing into 5 semesters.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting. And they let you do it.
Oh yeah, I mean, so
Isn't it a conservatory? It's like a conservatory, right?
Well,
Is it academic?
yeah, it was
Okay.
college.
Okay.
I mean, the first thing that happens if you transfer. I mean, I went to school a lot in Switzerland.
Okay. Yeah.
I went to something called gymnasium, which is like sort of halfway through college and like high school and halfway through college in one. And
Yeah.
so like just transferring my credits. I had like, I don't know, 40 credits or 50, I forget
Yeah.
the numbers, but like I got a lot. I got all the general ed stuff covered just by transferring my
I see.
my school credits, and then then you're being placed depending on your skills. And like I think I did harmony 3 and ear training 4 when I got
see.
there. So I skipped all that stuff because I had gone to school.
Okay. Okay.
And then they actually let you test out of things. So if you feel like you don't have to take a class, you just go take the final exam, and if you ace it, you get out of the class, or you can even like do all the work at home, and by the end of the semester take the test.
Yeah,
There's all kinds of things, and I went with like 16 credits per semester, and it was a little crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Let's take another quick break.
Sounds good.
You are listening to Doing Jazz with Lawrence Chuno. The guest on this episode is drummer Michael Vitali. His new album, Scratching the Surface, is available for purchase. The release of the album will be celebrated at Bar Next Door in New York City on Saturday, June 16th. The event starts at 9:30 p.m. All right, we're back. Okay, Michael, I have some I like to call it philosophical questions to ask. Yeah. There's no right or wrong answer. It's very unique to you. Are there any life experiences that affect your music, whether performance or whether writing? Or in other words, does another way of you could choose to answer either of this question. Is there any particular life experience or life experiences, or how do your life experiences affect your music, your art?
That's a really good question. You should have asked me that before taking the break. I mean, I can't like point to one thing. I would just say that music, like the way I play and the way I feel music changes over life through the experience that I'm having, and there's. I mean, I wouldn't say the happier I am, the better I play, but the more confident I am in my other life, maybe the less I feel under pressure to prove myself in music, and that's the state of playing, state of mind that's best for playing. I mean, it's always nice when you're just comfortable and you don't feel like you have to prove anything. Yeah. And the longer I play and the older I get, and the more I'm trying to really learn to always enjoy myself when I play, which is surprisingly hard, or it's surprisingly easy to play and be stressed and thinking about dealing with the wrong things. And so just be in the moment when you play, and listening to the people you play with and enjoy what they're playing, and I enjoy being there and doing what you're doing. That is sort of
the key,
the goal. And it's just amazing. And if like every performance that I get even close to that is a great performance to me. So I had a teacher, Michael Carvin, who used to say, it doesn't matter, like, don't worry about what you're playing in terms of like content. like, because hopefully tomorrow you'll be playing a different thing.
Yeah.
Worry about what you're doing when you're on stage. And I think this is kind of what he meant. Like, so whenever I'm like super nervous, and let's say I'm on tour somewhere, and it's really like we're not used to playing in front of a big audience who's actually listening.
Yeah.
As cool as the scene in New York is,
Yeah.
you don't get to experience that a lot, and then you go to some small town in Germany, and that thing happens. They all pay $20 to hear us, and they're all quiet and listen to the band from New York City, and so that's a lot of pressure. And in those moments, what I learned is to just really look at Justin and Yuka and just kind of enjoy what they're doing, and that automatically gets me into the music and into that conversation that I'm trying to be having.
Nice. You talked about not worrying about what you're doing now, because the next time or maybe tomorrow you'll be playing a different kind of venue, a different kind of song, or a different kind of music with different musicians. And once you said that, it made me start wondering how you navigate through the experience of playing with different musicians. Because even like the first time I met you, because you played in my band, I'm not a working musician, but whenever I meet a new musician that's gonna work with me, I'm always thinking, how does this person relate to my music? How is this person gonna like my music? And if the person doesn't like my music, how much is the person gonna bring into it? Like I've never had to go through that, because I don't play with other people. I just play my music. Yeah. So how do you navigate through that? I mean, you can feel free to use my band as an example.
Well, there's a couple of things. I mean, first of all, that feeling, how are they gonna like my music, or how are they happy with what I'm playing? Yeah. I have that much more than worrying about the audience, actually. So, I play with lots of different people, and I feel like, I mean, it's silly, but, you're on stage with people who, you might have heard 10 years ago at Smalls, and like, you want them to like what you're doing. Yeah. And so that's probably the bigger pressure, which is why it's so nice to be traveling with my trio, who I've known for so long, and we're really good friends, and so that feels really comfortable. But I don't think that's what you were asking about.
No, that's part of it. That's part of it. Like, I just don't know how. Like, I've never had the experience of going from playing with somebody who plays at Smalls to another person who plays country music, or to two different kind of people, a saxophonist and then a pianist and then a vocalist. Like, they're all band leaders, and then like just navigating through this experience. I guess there's something fun about it, but at the same time, I have not had that experience, and I'm just nervous. And me, who leads my own band and only play my own band, usually when I meet a new musician, I'm thinking, okay, how is this person going to deliver?
Right. Well, I mean, there are different kind of situations. There's the jam session where you just show up and you're like, hey, I can play with me, and that's a little more exposed. It's a little more like you're not really asked to do this. So that's a little harder to do, maybe. And then there's when you're actually hired. I mean, someone heard you play or played with you and liked your playing and hired you for a gig. So, then you can assume that they want to be playing with you. But, the bottom line is, at the end of the day, you're there with the other people, and you're trying to make something happen together. And that's what I try to remind myself. I mean, it doesn't matter who this person has played with last and what stage he was on. Right now, you're on stage together, or whatever, in a practice room together, or in a living room, and you're making music together. So you're equals. Yeah. And that,
nicely said.
You got to try to make it happen together. And so that's what I try to remind myself. It doesn't always work.
Nice. I have a few questions that I remembered to ask, and then
Yeah.
I forgot, but now I've remembered. There are two of them. One of them is you've traveled extensively in Europe playing music. Are there any cities or towns that you really had a good time in that you like?
Yeah, I mean, in general, I really like playing smaller towns or,
Okay.
you know,
I want names.
oh, okay. So, well, so I mentioned the German clubs. So
Okay.
there was a place. The place is called Armer Konrad. Now we're speaking German.
Alma
That means
Conrad.
poor Conrad.
Okay,
Conrad is a
okay.
name. Sounds like comrade. And it's in Weinstadt. 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 And that's in like southern Germany
Okay.
near Stuttgart.
Okay.
And that was one of those fairly small towns with a jazz club that is like crowdsourced. So
Yeah.
it's like public radio. It's like they pay a membership. I think that's how it
Yeah.
works. And there's places like that all over Germany. It's a very German thing. It's like a very democratic jazz club. Sometimes they don't even have a bar. They just organize concerts in different venues, but it's always so they have a member like a body of members.
Yeah.
And so if you book a gig there, you're from New York, probably from most places. It doesn't matter where you're from. You book a gig there. There is one show per week, and there's not so much going on in these places, and so people come out and they're super thankful to hear some music, and those are the best audiences.
Nice. Any other one?
Another one that was on the last tour as well. Even smaller. That wasn't even.
Is it in Germany also?
Was that?
Is this one in Germany?
No, this is in France.
Okay.
And that's but this is not an actual jazz venue. So this is a winemaker who I happen to know, and it's in sort of Beaujolais country, so that's like southern Burgundy.
Yeah.
And we had a gig on Sunday night in Marseille in the south of France, and then on Tuesday in the Loire Valley in the northwest. And so it's a bit of a trek, and we had a free night on Monday, so I figured I should try to find a nice place to stay, and so this was last minute. It was a few days before we went on tour. I sent these guys an email and said, hey, we're gonna be driving through, and do you have a gîte chambre d'hôte, like a guest room or something? And maybe we can play some music for some food, if your friends like music, and they were into it, and said yeah sure, let's do it. And while we were on tour, we were somewhere in Italy, I get an email, hey, how big a stage do you need? So I realized, oh, they're taking this much more seriously.
Yeah.
And so we got there, and they had a cave, like a sub what do you call that, underground cave where they store all their wine.
Yeah.
So it's a little cooler, and it's like looks like a church, like an arched kind of thing, and they had built a big stage there with like spotlights, and they put the chairs for the audience.
Wow.
And so this is like a 200 people little village. I mean, it's not even a village. They're like on the hill in this beautiful landscape. But at night, all their friends came. Most of them were winemakers from the neighboring areas. And they all came with their wines. So there were all these like great natural winemakers bringing their wines to taste. And so we played a show for them for a couple of hours. They all, we made some money through tips. We sold some CDs, and then there was a big wine degustation, like wine tasting afterwards. And we partied into the morning hours. It was really fun.
Awesome. Do you teach drumming?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
It's been a bit on the back burner lately. Right now, I have one student.
Okay.
He's a German kid, Frederick,
Mm-hmm.
and he's great. And he's I think he's 10.
Oh, cool.
Oops.
I had a drum set when I moved to New York,
Yeah.
and I sold it because I didn't have anywhere to keep it. But I kind of regret selling it because I go to people's apartments and they have drum sets, and
everybody plays drums in their department.
yeah, I should have kept it and just play until somebody tells me to stop playing.
What is it? What was it? Do you remember? Was it
Pearl?
a nice kit? A Pearl kit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you can buy a kit for cheap.
Yes.
And there's good stuff.
Yeah, I
stuff out there.
have my sabbatical coming up in in less than 2 years, or maybe 2 years maximum. So I'm gonna take a whole year off.
Yeah.
I might take lessons from you.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
I'm scheduling for 2 years, but 2 years rolls around in a blink of an eye. Yeah. Who are your influences? Who you looked at?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
for drumming.
It's a really tough question.
Okay.
Well, because so there's people I grew up listening to a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and whether I want it or not, that's going to influence me a lot. So and that includes my teachers.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay.
And then people like, I mean, Elvin Jones. I had a long time during Berkeley where I was totally obsessed with him, and I would I would watch this John Coltrane video every day, first thing in the morning when I kind of go to school.
Mm-hmm. Do you know Tony Williams?
I know Tony Williams. I like Tony Williams. I would say he's probably less of an influence. Just he's great, but I think I spent less time listening to him. I listened to a lot of Elvin. I listened to a lot of Philly Joe, especially lately. Again, Max Roach. There are some more modern people. So my thing lately, I guess what always has inspired me a lot is a kind of sparser way of playing. Drummers who do less and who sound amazing, doing one thing really, really well. And I try to think of the drum set more as, what it really is. It's like a rhythm section, like the big drum and the small drum and the tiny drum and the bells and the shakers played all by one person.
Yeah.
So you have the 5-piece African drumming section or Haitian or whatever it is you're coming from, and you put it all into one drum set.
Yeah.
And so I try to think of it a little more that way, so that it could be okay to just play one instrument of the set for a while,
or two,
or maximum 4. But you don't want to be blowing all 4 instruments all the time, or all 4 limbs. And so I've really, this is like a goal for me to one day to play half the notes that I'm playing. I mean, I'm always striving for playing less, and I feel like it's a journey.
Yeah.
First you got to learn how to play everything, and then you start playing less. But we were talking about influences. So so some people who have really mastered that. Yeah. Like Leon Parker, who's a drummer, who I think kind of came up in the 90s and in New York, and he moved to Europe. I think he lived in France. I don't know this very well, but I think he was in France for 10 years, and showed up in New York pretty recently, like a year or 2 ago. Yeah, maybe 2 years. Yeah. And I think he lives here again, and he's a master of literally playing a fifth of the notes everybody else is playing, and making perfect sense, and swinging and grooving, and his pocket is so deep, and Sounds amazing.
Nice.
Or in a very different way, Matt Wilson, I feel like, is another contemporary drummer who has a he's a little less minimal, but an incredible patience to develop one thing. Or actually, there's another. There's a friend of mine, sort of more of a contemporary, a peer, Vinny Speraza. I don't know if you come across his playing, check him out. He's another guy who just has she's incredible chops, but he just like he really composes and it takes a lot of discipline. If you go back, Paul Motion is an interesting example. Paul Motion, having that discipline, I think, as I understand, his playing in the later years was trying to be more, approaching the drums like a child, or like it's the first time he's playing drums every time, and trying to avoid all that stuff that has been practiced and checked out, as we say. So, not to go to the gig and play that cool lick that he's been practicing all day, because that's going to sound really old and tired, and rather just play whatever comes to mind, and even if it's totally unrehearsed and sometimes sounding kind of rough. But like that takes a lot of balls and patience,
and a lot of
courage,
experience,
really. And so that's
a
thing that I incredibly I admire a lot, and so I feel like that's what I one day want to get to.
Nice. Like I mean, even I just took a lot from what you just explained now, because even as a singer myself, there are things that, first of all, I've improved. I'm not close to where I want to be, but I've improved so much in the last few years, and I start to kind of fancy simplicity, and I'm trusting myself more that less is enough, and that when I do less, then when I want to do more, I'm ready to do more. Like I can now trust myself to do more and do it well and make it stand out. That's like I'm just relating to all the things you've explained.
Absolutely.
Nice. All right, so we're gonna end with a little what I call it, a little game I call turn up mute.
Wait, what?
Turn up mute. So I'm gonna give you two options. The one you feel at the moment, the one you really like at the moment, you turn it up. The other one you mute it.
Okay.
Gotcha. What's the name of the jazz? Sorry, what's the name of the jazz school you went to in Zurich?
It was in Bern.
In Bern,
the capital of Switzerland. Swiss Jazz School. Bern.
Swiss Jazz School. Okay. All right. So the first turn up on mute. Berkeley, Swiss Jazz School, Bern. Which one do you turn up? Which one do you mute? And it doesn't. You could leave now and turn up the other and mute how you're feeling at the moment. Like just go from memories.
Well, I would have to turn up Berkeley. I mean,
why? Why do you have to?
Well, I was having more fun at Berkeley.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay.
I mean, Berkeley is like it's like New York City in 3 buildings, or they probably have 7 by now. But when I was there, it was like 3 buildings.
Okay.
And it's like all the craziness and all the talent and all the shit show. I don't know if I can say this here, but you know, all the chaos and all the things that are terrible, but it's all happening every day and all the time, and it's crazy and it's fun.
Nice. All right, Elvin Jones, Max Roche.
Elvin Jones.
Elvin Jones. Okay. Is there any particular reason?
I mean, he was just a phenomenon. I mean, Max Roach is a great drummer, but Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Elvin Jones.
Yeah.
It's hard to compare.
Yes,
I can
true,
say good
true.
things about Elvin Jones. I mean,
Mhm.
he was like a force of nature. He was
Yeah.
like and he was a phenomenon. And like some of the things he played
Mhm.
don't even make sense, and which is why nobody else can play like Elvin. And
Nice.
most people who try.
They fail.
I don't know. I used to try, and it didn't go over so well. But like,
Mhm.
and I've seen him live a few times, and
Yeah.
it changed my life. It's incredible. He was
Mm.
incredible, and then of course he played with John Coltrane,
Mhm.
who is one of my favorite of all
Nice.
time. So
Nice. All right. Pay attention carefully. Yin Yang played twice. Which one do you turn up? Which one do you mute?
oh well, I'll turn up Yin Yang for sure.
Okay. These are two of your songs
Yeah.
in the new.
Well, you know, Yin Yang is just more original. I
Okay.
don't know.
Okay.
So, this is a composition by Justin,
Mm-hmm.
who has a very cool way of writing and hearing music and playing it, and I think it's the only one on this record. And we usually play a lot of his music, so yeah, it's a more important aspect of the trio.
Nice. Michael, I want to take this opportunity to really thank you for being a member of my band, helping
Thank
hold
you.
everything together. And John and I, we always talk about how we learned a lot from you. Personally, I know I learned a lot from you,
Wow.
you know. And some of the songs, I bring some songs and I've worked on them, and to the point that that's all I got. And I present it to the band. You come up with some ideas that just make it better. Like I can name two. I remember Easy Busy,
Mm-hmm.
right? I can't remember the groove I came up with, but you were like, okay, let's just do this in bossa,
Yeah.
a bossa nova, and bossa nova turned out to be the best.
Yeah.
And then we wanted to flip. I wanted to do it how it was written, what's going on, and
Yeah.
you're like, no, this would be good at 6/8, and
Yeah.
that turned out to be the best decision for this
Yeah.
song. Yeah, for that song. So thank you, and I hope you feel good playing in my
Yeah,
band.
I want to take this opportunity to thank you.
You don't have to say it.
No, I want to thank you for having me in your band. Like,
Okay.
because I actually realized I missed that. You mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, I
and
mentioned it earlier.
I
Yeah.
missed to say that. I'm really happy to be in your band.
Great.
And you know, I think that's the way it's supposed to work. Like,
Mhm.
you're supposed to do your thing, you
Yeah.
come up with your idea, bring it in, and then trust your musicians
Mhm.
to take it to where they
Yes.
want it, like
Yeah.
where they're hearing it, and you know, part of it is that you're that you've developed that trust and confidence in
Mhm.
us to take it there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Great. All right. Later, I hope we can do this again. Thank you, Michael Vitali, for coming on Doing Jazz.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. Later.